Coffee, a dark, energetic, mysterious beverage. It's not something you would think is significant, but millions of Americans can't live without it. Day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, Americans are taking time, gas, and money out of their day to go purchase a cup of coffee. Coffee was introduced to America because of the Boston Tea Party. People felt it was their patriotic duty to drink coffee.
The Boston Tea Party was in 1773, and a group of colonists dressed up as Mohawk Indians and went on board the British ships that were in the harbor. They'd already asked the captain to leave, but they needed permission from the British to go. And so these ships sat in the harbor, and these men emptied the contents of about 340 chests of tea into Boston Harbor, which in today's money would have been about $1 million worth, and it was about 45 tons of tea. And so obviously that didn't make King George happy, and so he retaliated against them with the coercive acts, or what we've come to call the intolerable acts, which closed Boston Harbor and imposed martial law on Boston.
I thought this was a myth that the Boston Tea Party really had anything to do with what we drink now, but it did. I found John Adams writing to Abigail saying, "It's unpatriotic now to drink tea, and I'm going to have to live without it." The Continental Congress passed a law against drinking tea, so they started drinking more and more coffee.
A lot of people don't know this, but so coffee grows on a coffee tree, and it looks like a little cherry, okay? And inside the cherry there's a coffee bean, and it's green. So you have green coffee beans. Now the plantation workers pick all these, and then they get all the skins and flesh off of the cherry, and then you're left with your coffee bean. And then they go in the grinder, and then they go in your espresso machine or coffee pot, and you make a cup of coffee.
So over the years, coffee kind of became synonymous with the military. In the Civil War, the Union troops were provided coffee as part of their rations, and there were men that would get grinders on the ends of their rifles and literally grind up their coffee beans and just dump them and boil them in water over the fire. But they were provided 36 pounds a year in the Union Army for their coffee. And by World War I, the military really kind of got revolutionary and had instant coffee provided for their troops.
How much did coffee in the United States military during World War II have to do with the American use of the drink?
Well, you know, we call coffee a cup of joe now, and that came out of World War II. G.I. Joe became so closely identified with his coffee.
America is a melting pot full of people, as well as a melting pot full of different kinds of coffee.
The most popular form of coffee is a cappuccino. It's a shot of espresso, steamed milk, a layer of foaming milk, and chocolate shavings or powder. Black coffee, which is coffee beans roasted and grounded up finely, mixed with scalding water. An espresso is a shot of the purest possible form of coffee, blazing steamed water through the beans into a tiny cup of coffee.
So standard drip coffee, they take usually a variety of beans from a variety of farms and areas to get different flavors. They'll blend them all together, roast them, and then we just grind and brew.
So a cafe Americano is just hot water, and then it's just your espresso brewed and dumped into the hot water, and it's pretty much just like kind of a drip coffee made through espresso.
Mr. Taylor Clark, author of Starbucks, shares some insight on the growth and diversity of coffee in America.
It's kind of my way of telling the story of how basically we went from paying a quarter for really awful coffee at diners and, stuff that basically made us want to scrub our tongues with Brillo pads, to being happy to pay $4 for, milk and coffee, basically.
it anticipated how long it would take New York City to literally like dissolve if coffee was removed, like if it was illegal or it was gone, and it was like less than a day because people are truly, I mean, I hate to use that word, but they're addicted to caffeine.
The caffeine definitely helps me get through the day.
America, a melting pot full of diversity. But one thing we all have in common is we all love coffee. With 400 million cups of coffee per day, that makes America the leading consumer of coffee, according to the Huffington Post. Beginning in 1773, on that fateful day when the colonists threw the tea overboard, I don't think they could have ever imagined how much that event would have revolutionized America how it has today. Coffee, a dark, energetic, mysterious beverage. Coffee, a cup of victory.